Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and today we are going to go through the events because I didn't do this for the last one. I'm just going to kind of forget about the last one, and we're just going to keep moving forward. We have a Shard summoning event coming up this weekend, and it is for Alistair, the Meteor Sage. So they've recently released a new faction in the game called Arbiters, and the Arbiters have right now only one lord, and they're an extremely small faction. The big thing about them is they gain one divinity every 15 seconds with a cap of 3. You can consume all divinity to cast Lightning of Truth. What does Lightning of Truth do? Causes Verdict of Truth 1, 2, and 3 according to the divinity consumed. So Verdict of Truth 1, for every one faction ally present, deals true damage equal to 100% of the Lord's attack to 2 random enemies. So, if you had 5 Arbiters out, and no one's really going to have all 5 Arbiters right away, but if you had 5 Arbiters out, you were doing 500% true damage to 2 random enemies, which is quite the amazing thing. Verdict of Truth 2, for every one faction ally present, deals true damage equal to 150% of the Lord's attack. So if you have 5, that's 750% damage. To random enemies 3 times, and wait, 3 times? Interesting. And then inflicts a stun, so that's super amazing. And then for the final verdict, or verdict 3, for every one faction ally present, deals true damage equal to 200% of the Lord's attack to random enemies 4 times. Maybe I'm misreading this. Maybe, like, the more I'm thinking about this, for every one faction ally present, so he would do, like, he would hit 200% to a random enemy 4 times. It might be, like, a wave of 4, and then for every other faction ally you have, so I have Valkyra, you would then hit you would hit another 4, and then so on and so forth. That seems a little bit more balanced. Because if you had 5 faction allies for that to do 1,000% damage, true damage is kind of crazy, but they are all Arbiters, and most of them do have a higher cost, so could be. Inflicts stun. The Sacred Blessing applied along with this effect has an extended duration. Unfortunately, I don't know what the Sacred Blessing is. Each time divinity is consumed, faction allies gain Sacred Blessing. All damage plus 50%, including true damage. So very, very crazy faction. So if you're able to get them, but again, there's barely even 6 of them here. So the chances of you having the Lord and 5 others is going to be extremely rare. But let's talk about the mage. So in terms of stats, the Arbiters are supposed to be a little bit more impressive. So he does have a higher HP than most of the other legendary mages, and 5,200 attack is a bit more. I was looking at mage damage the other day. 4,500 is kind of a good average to compare it to, but there are big jumps. Like, I forget what the other mage was that has 5,000 attack. Kriya. It was Kriya, and I was like, holy crap. Kriya has ridiculously high base damage, but a lot of her attacks barely hit for like 100% damage. So that is kind of the balance for her, is kind of like your Osiren and your Zealous having very low attack speed. Kriya is meant to just hit everything on the battlefield constantly, so they have those number scalings kind of weaker. So he's way up there with Kriya. This base attack is massive. However, his cost being 25 does mean it's going to be hard to summon him out. I do like this, though. I think this is a good synergy to have, is having increased stats with a higher cost. This is good game design, in my opinion. Attack interval is 2. This is extremely rare for a mage. Usually this 2.0 is saved for piercers. So again, this high cost, you having a ridiculously high damage with a fast attack speed, I'm liking what I'm seeing already. His rage regen is 19, which is tied for the highest rage regen in the game. The only other one is Sulkadens, who's a Lord of the Infernals, who has a 19. Alright, let's see what he does. Each attack on the same target increases attack speed by 30, stacking up to 5 times. So he's very similar to Pyros. The effect lasts for 5 seconds. When reaching full stacks, each basic attack deals 1 extra true damage equal to 80% of the attack. So you do one. The way this is written, I'm thinking they're just trying to say you do 80% of your damage as true damage. But the way this is written is really weird. Fascinating though. Fascinating. So when he gets up to all 5 attack stats, ooh, something else I wanted to see. So there's his grid pattern. Okay, so at full, he doesn't gain any increased range here so far. Basic attack deals 80% damage to 1 enemy continuously. So this kind of means that he's either going to be striking the enemy once per second, or there is the potential that it does scale with your attack speed, and we'll just be seeing constant ticks of damage come off the enemy. So, really interesting. I can't wait to see that attack, to be honest. Trembling Shatter. When reaching full talent stacks, if the target is inflicted with 3 stacks of Radiant Erosion, so Radiant Erosion is a big thing for this faction, it deals true damage based upon the carrier's defense every 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 stacks. So it's kind of a true dot damage that we're putting on things. So, when reaching full talent stacks, if the target is inflicted with 3 stacks of Radiant Erosion, basic attacks have a 30% chance to deal 1 extra. Why do they... Watcher of Realms, please let me do your localization language. Has a chance to deal an extra 100%, 80% damage. So, really cool thing. I'm assuming that's magic damage and not true damage. But again, I really wish that that was specified. So your trigger chance of this goes from a 30% chance up to a 40% chance. So that is amazing. And then the damage scales from 180 up to 240. So very, very noticeable. Noble Debilitation. When reaching full talent stacks, each basic attack inflicts damage reduction on the target. So this means that the target deals less damage. I absolutely love this to death because, again, this faction has a lot of things called the Radiant Erosion, meaning that our champions need to live longer. So by giving damage reduction on a damage dealer, this gives you some amazing utility that synergizes with the other Arbiters, meaning you're going to want to have more of the Arbiters out. So I absolutely love this. So the damage reduction only does last for 1 second though. So him attacking once every 2 seconds means you're going to have gaps of every time you're attacking, you're reapplying that. So the big thing to note here is we can increase the effect duration up to 0.5 seconds. So this would be a 1.5 seconds, meaning that when you get his attack speed down to 1.5, you would effectively have that on at all times. But what's crazy to me reading this is damage reduction increases by an additional 15% here. So you would have a minus 30% damage reduction. That is crazy. That also could have massive implications for things like Dragon or certain bosses and such. So this is a very, very terrifying skill. And he's a Shard event coming up. So, players, I would encourage you... We haven't even looked at his ultimate yet. This is a champion that might be very worth it if you have resources or to save resources for trying to get him specifically. Arena attack range increase. I do not know why they would give him this specifically. He's already kind of amazing. He really did not need an arena skill. This is kind of impressive and terrifying all at once. Let's look at this ultimate, Dawnlight. So it is a manual ultimate. The skill cost is 800, so it's a little bit on the slow side, meaning you're not going to feel like you can spam it, but it's kind of in the mid-range where you could feel like you can use it pretty oftenly. Or if you're in the arena, you could probably use it about once per wave, You might need to save it, though. I wouldn't necessarily spam this every wave. When you get down closer to 500, you could spam pretty reliably. Inflicts 3 stacks of Radiant Erosion on up to 10 enemies in range and increases the hero's attack by 25%, lasting for 12 seconds. We can increase the effect duration from 12 seconds up to 15 seconds. The attack increase, we can increase from 25% to 35%. And then the skill cost, we can reduce that as well, from 800 to 700. 700 is like right there in the middle. Like technically, I would say 650 is your true middle, but 700 is the technical middle, because the highest rage cost I've seen is 1400, and that's on Nazim. So yeah, 700 would be right in the middle. He would have the most middle of the road ultimate, which again in arena, once a wave, like once per round, I guess is kind of the better way of explaining it. Or maybe once every other round, depending, because obviously you don't want to use it like if the current wave is dying. But yeah, very cool. And the fact that it's only a 15-second ult, duration ult, means that you should feel like you're stacking it up again. So it actually might be less than once a wave in the arena. That might be an intended feature, is for him not to be able to ult every wave in the arena. Very, very cool champion. Because he is a shard event. So shard events in this game, guys, what that means is we collect copies of shards. So I don't have a shard event going on right now to show off, but I can show you shards from past events. As you complete them, typically we get things about 5 shards depending on the event. So you either have event or Oracle Trials. In the events, we typically gain about 5 shards, and then depending on the event, sometimes there are as many as 10, and I think the highest I've seen is 20 shards, but that's on an arrival of heroes, meaning that you need to summon a crap ton of heroes to get all like 20 shards that I just named from the arrival of heroes. For whales, this means start stocking up on your shards, because if that arrival of heroes or whatever, like spiritual altar, comes up, these shards will be very valuable to you. For free-to-play players, this is one of those moments where it does make sense to try to save up shards for a bigger event like this. So the 2 big events that I would recommend saving shards for, some nonsense like this where there's a shard event, so that when you're pulling your summoning, I keep saying shards, when you use your summoning crystals, if you have a whole bunch saved up, you potentially can get some big pulls, as well as the fragments here that we need for Alistair. Sunday Bear, stop. We were just outside. Or for things like the 250 pull. And I know that's ridiculous for free-to-play players that might feel like it is like a little too ridiculous. But right now it does seem like every 3 to 4 months they release a legendary champion where you have to pull 250 shards for. So the first one that I saw was Captain Reeve. The second one was Falsha, who does mixed damage. So potentially the next one coming up, I would guess, is they did a tank, then a fighter. So it's most likely either going to be like a marksman or a healer. Could be a mage. Because of Alistair coming out right now, I would assume they wouldn't do a mage. I would assume they would do a marksman first. Anyways, so as you can see, I have a whole bunch of shards. The reason that you might see these like extra 2 here, or sometimes like you would have like 73, when you're talking about the Oracle Trials, so these are kind of like a PvP type concept, is your top 3 players in these often get its 10, 7, and 5. Now, 7 might seem like a very, very strange number. Sometimes one Oracle Trial is 7, and then the other one is 8, so that would give you your 15. The biggest thing to note is that for 2nd and 3rd place, you're at least getting 5. Just think of it that way. Don't count on the very specific. There is one event, and I forget which event it is specifically, but sometimes the rewards, you get like 2 shards from one tier of rewards, and then when you go down further in the tier rewards, you get the extra 3. So there's another reason where that extra 7 could be the difference for you, is when you get that extra 3, that'd put you up to 10. You'd still have 2 shards left over, don't worry about it. The point is, this is a champion that I think is very fascinating. The one big thing of note, I am not seeing a whole lot of AoE specifically. So here he can infect up to 10 enemies with Radiant Erosion. So he's going to be dotting everything. But for the most part, he's just doing single target damage everywhere. So this champion's going to be super amazing in things like Dragon. Anytime where you need a single target mage. So certain bosses in the campaign, certain things in Void Rift, he's going to feel great. For those big bulky enemies, he probably is going to knock them out in a quick order. But in terms of like your Gear Raid 1, is he going to be absolutely monstrous in there? Possibly. We do need to see how this Radiant Erosion fully works out. And he's just a champion I haven't seen in full detail yet. I am not on the Forerunner server, and I kind of don't have a huge inspiration to go join the Forerunner server. There's potential that might change in the future, but at the moment, I don't have any inspiration for it. But very cool. I really love old mages. I don't know what it is. Old wise mages is a very aesthetic choice to me. So I think he looks kind of cool. These wings with the candles on it is very, very interesting. I'm excited for this champion. He's somebody I'm definitely going to be trying to get the shards for. Will I go all out? Probably not, right? So like for Oracle Trials, am I going to be trying to place first in every single one? No, not necessarily. To be honest with you though, guys, if anybody's looking up here at like my diamonds and like my gold, I have recently gotten a viewer that is like turning our account into a whale account. So I'm no longer hurting for resources of any kind. So getting those first places is going to be much easier for me. I'm officially calling myself a whale. For players that are either free to play or if you want to be a low spender, I would encourage the privilege card above everything else. If we ignore everything else until we get down to Gear Raid and Promotion Raid, what happens is every third round, you get extra drops from your Gear Raid, and every third round of Promotion Raid, you get an extra drop, and most importantly, it's not just an extra drop, majority of the time it's your gold insignias, right? So it's like, even if you're farming for the purple insignias, right? If you're farming for these marksmen too, a lot of the times you're getting these golden marksmen, so marksman 3 insignias. So very, very valuable that you can kind of double up on your energy usage. And again, it's every third round. Maybe that doesn't sound wildly impressive. As somebody who was free to play and was only buying the privilege card, this turned out to be a massive difference in how I played the game. So very, very wonderful change. So if anybody is curious, like if I'm like, hey, what would I spend money on? This privilege card is amazing. And then the extra, like the fact that it's like a monthly thing, I know some players are not going to be into that, but understand that this game is free to play. So all the artists, all the programmers, all the support staff that are answering questions or interacting with the community, this is how they get paid. They are making a free-to-play game, and I get that there are whales out there, but things like this where it is a reoccurring amount of money means that it becomes much more predictable for them, so they can hire on more staff more reliably. If they are waiting for players to buy certain things from the shop, let's go find something ridiculous that I disagree with. We'll go with this. This isn't necessarily bad because this is for your mythic artifacts, but 500 mithril I do not think is worth this. How much is this? Holy crap. Oh, because I don't have enough money. I think that's $10 if I remember correctly. I guess that's worth $10. I guess that's not terrible. I don't heavily disagree with that. But yes, some of the things, especially like in summoning shards, some of them have been absolutely ridiculous. If I did not have like I'm calling him a sponsor, but if I didn't have a viewer paying for all my shit at the moment, I would not, a lot of this stuff I would never buy. It would just be way too expensive. So guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you think of Alistair. He definitely looks like he's going to be primarily a whole lot of single target damage, so kind of like Nocturne. And then the fact that he's a holy mage, I think it's a cool concept. I love things like we so focus heavily on dark mages and dark magic. So having light holy beams ripping holy scars on things, I think is a very cool contrast thing. I personally am much more into the dark magic thing, but let me know what you think. There's always the cool concept of battle clerics, since clerics are always our healers and whatnot. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want Sunday to stop barking, join us over at twitch.tv/sprinklebeard, because she's ruining my video by all of her barking. I just had her out. So anybody wondering why I'm yelling at my dog, I just took them on a 15-minute walk right before getting into this stream. I made sure to walk her right prior to recording a video. But if you want to see her barking or want to see her in her cute pajamas or doing tricks, twitch.tv/sprinklebeard. We stream every day, Sunday through Wednesday, semi-reliably. Once my overtime picks back up, I will be streaming a lot less. Thank you very much for watching, and of course, until that next time, ta-ta.